this high bar I've set, so I'm gonna take this bar and throw it off the edge. And all I'll ever be is riding next to me, spotting on my screen, sunburn down on me. And I hope that you watch this, I hope that you will. I hope you feel better about these cards you dealt. Look around and tell me what you see. Is it a brand new man or is it same old me? I keep marching forward with a small belief that if I'm still persistent, then I'll soon break free.
Okay, good morning folks. So started the roof today. It's this morning now, so just put the ridge board in. I'll just spin you around and show you if I can. There we go. So you can see I've set the ridge board in. It's gone in about 7 inches into the wall, and then it's sitting on that corner of granite that I've cut out there. So it's sitting right on that granite, and also I've treated the end of the timber and I've wrapped it with some DPC, so it keeps it a little bit protected over the many years it'll be here. So there you go, look. So that's it, it's in plumb, level across that way and plumb on its face. Okay, so this post here that I put up temporary is level to the centre. On this side is the centre, is the face side of this ridge. So it's the face side of this ridge here, and then the centre of the ridge is the centre of the building. Okay, so got the wall plates on there. So what I'm going to do is show you. I'm going to carry on and cut in 2 principal rafters or rafters into there, each side, to hold it up. Then I can take away the temporary frame that's holding it up. And you notice the ridge has gone over. So what happens is when I build the roof goes past as well. So there's like a boxing all the way down each side, so you get the overhang properly. But I'll show you that when I come to that. So there you go. So we're moving on now. So I'm going to start cutting in these, and then I'll show you how I do it. These rafters without a tape measure, just a string and a bit of stick. Okay folks, welcome. I'm going to show you how to set out a roof in the medieval times, how they would have done it, without these tools. Let me show you. Without a tape measure, no measure at all, no protractor, or protractor is on here as well. We call this a speed square in the carpentry world. Okay, it's a speed square for working out pitches and things, and this is a roofer square. Okay, so we use this, I use this a lot when I'm making staircases or pitching roofs. They're the tools I normally use. Okay, but the medieval people never had these tools. All right, so imagine me now, I've gone and shot back in time, and I'm in the medieval days. I've got no tape measure, nothing. The tools I would have needed to use to work out measurements, if you like, because they didn't work it in measurements, they worked it in division. They divided things up to smaller and smaller increments and then worked from there. Okay, so they would have used tools like this, a compass of some sort, or divider, whatever you want to call it. They would have used string lines or plumb. So as that stands still, that's going with the gravity of the earth and it's pointing plumb. Okay, or large dividers, something like this. Okay, also we use a sliding bevel. I haven't got one here actually, no, sliding bevel, and that's what we set our angles up from our drawings, all right, or when we mark out. But they never had nothing like that. Well, we don't think they had nothing like that. We're not sure. They're not 100% sure. But the way they would have done it, they would have had a block of wood, and they would have run it up on the storage stick. And I'm going to show you that in another segment. I just want to talk about this first one now. But they would run it up on a storage stick, and then using this tool, okay, they would set it and scribed to get that. I'll show you that all later though. First of all, let's start here. I'm going to have to take the camera off and sort of follow you along so you can see what I'm doing, alright? That's another thing, sorry, I must say. They used also string. Their main measuring tools were string and compasses and plumb bobs, alright? So I'm going to take you off and then I'll show you. So, I'm trying to achieve for you guys is to set this roof out, which I've already started. Okay, you've seen that. To set this out without a tape measure, or a roofing square or a speed square at all, right? And I've not seen anyone else do this on YouTube, so you know, I just know it's going to be interesting, I'm sure, for a few of you. Okay, so in the medieval days, if they wanted to know the span, right, so this was the span that's going from the outside wall side of the wall plate runs along the top to this, all the way across here to this wall plate. So from that outside of that wall plate all the way a straight line to that wall plate is what we call a span, right? And what we need to do is find the centre. To find the centre, this side of the timber here, right, plus an inch is the centre. Okay, now how they wanted to find that centre, and what they called it was the half span. So it was obviously a half span. Okay, and how they used to find that is they would put a nail at each end, or a spike of some sort, and I'm going to replicate this down here. Okay, so they put a nail in, that's the end of the wall plate. They put a bit of string with a loop. Okay, they'd come along all the way to the next wall plate outside, put a string and a loop. They do a secured loop so it doesn't slip. Okay, and then what they would do is once they got to that, I've already set this up so I can speed it up for you. They know that that's the span. This line here is the span. They don't know the measurement, they just know it's the span. So what they're going to do is, the medieval guys, and we're talking right from the early days, you know, like back in the probably 1100s or even older, we don't know, but you know, there's been done some research on it, and they say around about 1100s. This has been the way they would have done it right up to the late 1700s. So I took that string out, I brought it all the way along here, and I hook it over there. So I've got two strings on there now. Okay, let me just drop this one out of the way. I'm hoping you can see this. Okay, so I've got my two lines here now, both loops are over. I've come from the other one. Then what I would do is I would stretch it out till I get to a loop here, okay, in my finger. And then I'd put a nail inside there, and I'd drop it down. Let me just, I've got to do this. I'll put it on first and then I'll show you. Oh, yeah, there we go. So I'd pull that loop over this and I'd put a nail in there. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Then I'll take the other side off, the loops, and I'll check the other end. So it's the same, nice and tall. Okay. Now, in terms of high accuracy, say for joinery, this wouldn't be good enough. But for building work, setting out roofs, churches, cathedrals, all that sort of stuff was fine. Okay, and the reason that is when you go around the spike here, okay, I hope you can see that, my finger. When you go around there, you lose 2 or 3 mil. Right, so it's tightening up by 2 or 3 mil all the time. But they knew that. They didn't know it was mils, but they knew it was getting lost on that turn. Okay, so what they would do again is they would come to here. This is the dividing it. Okay, I'm dividing everything up. I take the 2 loops off there. Right, a little bit awkward. I should have cut that off really. Okay, and then I would have gone round back to this middle one again. Whoops, hang on. Sorry about the camera. Right, so I'd have gone back onto there. All right. Then I would have pulled these out, put that down there. I would have pulled these out again, okay, and I'm going to just tug on this now to get it over. Right, hang on. So that's what I've had to do. I've had to put that over there. So now what I've done, right, and what they've done, would have done, is they've divided it in half and they've divided it in a quarter, okay. Now that's where the string stops, because now they're losing the measurement. They're starting to go out by 1/4 of an inch now, so they stopped at that. And then what they do is they'd bring in a compass or divider, which is one of these, okay. So that would just spread out to where I want it. So what I would try and do with this compass, I would try to divide that in half. Guesswork if you like, but I know where the line is, so I'm going to go straight to it. And they guesswork until they got from there to there, that point. There's little metal, I'll show you here, little metal nails on the end of this, okay. And that would have given me the centre. Okay, so I've got the centre here, okay. I've already done this. And then they would have done it again, and they would have divided it this into half again. So now what we've got is from the centre to the end of the half span, we've got a division of 8. And this seemed to be what they worked with, a division of 8. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to go on to, so once I've got it all set up, and they're divided into 8 segments, right, this will give me my pitches on my roof, because the medieval people didn't use a protractor, didn't know the measurements, but when they go back to historic buildings, there's a fella called Peter Reed who looked into this deeply, and has given me some good ideas as well, I think. But he looked into it and found out that they worked out their pitches from these segments. And how they did that, right, was they would say go from this nail again, and they would go past the halfway, and then to the first segment here, and they knew that was, well, they didn't know it was 27 degrees, but it did. It comes out 27 degrees, and the increments go up, and let me just tell you, they go up to 27, 36, 48, 52, 55, 58, 60. Most medieval buildings, nearly all of them, their roofs are pitching between them measurements. So they're normally pitching between a 48 up to I think it was a 58, yeah. So it's a 48 to a 58 pitch. Now I'll try and explain that a little bit easier for you. So for those who don't know, from there, from that outside edge of that wall plate going up to that ridge board at the top, right, is the pitch, is the run of the pitch, and that is a determined length. Now we do that with maths now, because we can do it different with the ruler and the maths, and it'll tell us what them pitches are, so we know to cut them like that. But I'm trying to show you an older way of doing it and how they did it, and it's quite amazing really that they never had tape measures to do this or calculations, and they didn't use a lot of geometry either. So that's your pitch, right, and that's what this does basically. This is setting out your work with a string line and a pair of dividers, no tape measure at all. Okay, next stage I'll show you is from, and I have to guide you on this one, because in the medieval times they didn't really have ridge boards. Okay, they normally went, you know, like I built in the porch, I done a saddle joint where the two timbers come into each other and I put a peg through them. That's what they used a lot. And then they used what they call main purlins, which went directly under there, even though the purlins go on the sides, but they had a purlin, they called it a purlin as well, that goes under. And but we'll call it a ridge, right? So the ridge boards started to come in around about 1700s. They worked out they could use these a little bit more convenient. And then coming down onto the wall plates, the medievals would come straight into the wall plate at a certain angle, because they'd be a lot deeper and chunkier, and they would mortise and tenon them in, okay, and then peg joint them. But we don't, we sit them on a bird's mouth cut. So we have a bird's mouth cut there, which is modern. When I say modern, it's 1700s, and we have a plumb cut on the ridge. Okay, so next thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to get a story stick, and I'll explain that for you, and we'll go up to that part. Right. Okay, second part. For all you budding carpenters out there, want to have a go, DIYers, whatever, you give it a go, because this is enjoyable. So what you do is, when you're marking out your principal rafters, which is this, okay, and you'll see this is a heavy duty one. All right, the reason is because the pitch is low, roughly 27 degrees. Okay, I know that, but I've made it heavier so I can walk about on top of it and put the tiles on. I'm a sort of heavy, I'm 18 stone nearly, so you know I've got to be, it's got to be strong enough to hold me. That's the first thing. Right, so medieval times, there was another tool I admitted there, forgot to say about, was they always had chalk lines. Chalk lines were around in the Roman times, even before, I think they were even in the Egyptian times. So a chalk line is when you have chalk on the line, you take it from one point to another, ping it, and it gives you a mark. They would have used charcoal or different products, white chalk. There was some other stuff they used with oil in it, ink as well. Anyway, so this here is what we call a story rod. A story rod in the joinery trade, what this does, this tells me the story of what I'm trying to achieve. Okay, I'm trying to get a point from there to up here, and I need this stick to tell me that. Okay, but how we do that accurately is, I'm just panning around, it's turned out sunny now. First thing we do is we work on thirds. So if this is the medieval way of doing things, all right, they would have worked on thirds as well. So when I say a third, it's a third of this timber, okay, and a third of this timber, and then we chalk a line. And how we find the thirds without a tape is we equally divide. So there's my here's my compass again, right? I don't know if you can see these lines on here. They're equal division. It don't matter what they are, don't matter what measurement, as long as you stick it on there and it's there, and you mark it. Could be anything, could be 3 1/4, 4, 5, 5 1/2, whatever. Okay, and then what we do is, to find the third of this timber, we put the first mark on top of the timber, and we pivot around, okay, and we keep pivoting until the bottom mark touches the bottom of the timber. So that's down here, down the bottom. And if you can see where that red line is, whoop, it slipped. That red line is, that's a third of the timber, okay? So that's 1/3, 2/3 full. And then what we do is we make a mark there, we do the same down the bottom, and then we ping a line, and that gives us there. And we do exactly the same up here when we're marking out this one, okay? So we go down here, bring it down, oops, down there, and I don't know if you can see that. Just get it lined up properly. There we go, a third on the timber again. All right, now the reason we do that is we ping a line. My story rod, the rod that tells me the story, let me show you. You put a little hook in here, or a nail, okay, and this bottom line, bottom underneath, is going to line up with the red line on the roof. So I pull it up here, let me just try and show you. I'm really close, so it's going to be difficult. I'm balancing on this, so you can see I've put it onto that, the bottom of this is onto that line there. This little nail will hook in and stop it slipping, okay. Then I would put my block that I showed you earlier against there, that's square cut, get my compass, run it down there, score a line, and then cut it, and that will give me the correct angle for this bit of wood to marry like this, okay, which is, you see this cut here. Coming down this end without falling off. Oh, hang on. Sorry about the bad filming, because I'm up on a scaffold here, and you can see where I've marked it there, okay, and that lines up with the red line on this timber, you'll see. So what I would do is I'd mark this onto this timber. I'd lift this on to here on the floor, mark it, and that would give me the beginning of my bird's mouth seat cut, plumb cut, seat cut, okay. And then this is what it looks like when it's done, Okay, so there you go. Seat cut, plumb cut. You want as much seated as possible onto your wall plate. The more that's on there, the better the seating. I pinch nail it there, 2 nails that side 4-inch and 2 on the other side 4-inch, and that pinch nails that ain't going nowhere, not in my lifetime or your lifetime. Basically that's it. That's how medieval carpenters would have worked without a tape measure. Have you noticed there's nothing there with a tape measure on it? I'm going to go down now, just quickly show you. I'm going to actually turn you off because I've got to get down off the ladder, and I'll show you something. Okay guys, folks, everyone, let me show you this. So this is a drawing. Okay, this was set out by scholars or whatever. They was working it out, or how the medieval carpenters worked out their angles. Basically, they never knew an angle, what it was called, but they knew what to work to. So this here is the outside of the span to the span. Okay, and I showed you on the wood. I divided it in half, then I divided it up to 8 in division, and then I set from this end of the span, or the half span, I set my string line, pulled it out to that one, number 1, struck it up till it hit the plumb cut, or the rise, if you like. And I know, because I've worked it out afterwards with modern tools, that that's a 27 degrees. Well, I checked all these, I worked it all out and checked all these, and they're all dead right. And the medieval builders, when they were building, and you can go and check this up in old churches and old cathedrals, wherever you can see an old medieval building, most of their pitching on their roofs was between 60, I said 58, 60, okay, and a lot of them were round about the 52 degrees. That's the pitch line there, 52 degrees. So we're looking on the side profile of the roof, if you like, the pitches. And the reason they kept them up these high pitches is it was the materials they were using to keep the rain off. So they would have thatches or shingles, certain things. Sometimes tiles, tiles came on long later, but they were used as well. But it was mostly shingles, wooden shingles, so you want a high pitch. Same with a thatch, you want a high pitch to push the water off, yeah? And that's it really. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys, and give me some of your feedback, tell me what you think. Hopefully when I set up the carpentry workshop, I'll show you lots of things like this, about set out, how we work out our joinery, how we work out buildings, if we're doing roofs or dormers, whatever. I can't even think of it. So many things I've done in my life in woodwork, but hopefully we'll set up a workshop when that's built. I've got to build this first, but when I build that next, set it up, and then we can have people coming over, spending a week working in there, working in the workshop. We do courses and that properly set up, show you how to work with wood in a simple way without making it too technical. I know that sounded all a bit technical, but hopefully you'll understand it, some of you guys. Anyway, I'll cut off there now because I'm starting to waffle.
There's a lot to see, a lot to do. Recently I've realized I like doing it all with you. Take my hand, twirl me around, hold me close, don't ever put me down. Every time I look at you, you're looking back at me, my dear.